Hello and welcome to Quartzlight, your car brochure channel, and in today's episode we're going to be continuing our Austin Rover story for 1984. This time we're up to the Rover 200 series. Hello and welcome back, and if you're new to Quartzlight, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube, looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s, and sometimes beyond that as well. So if you're interested in car brochures, cars in general, looking back at cars gone by, please consider subscribing. It is all completely free. Anyway, going back to today's episode, we've been looking through an Austin Rover catalogue, full range catalogue for October, November, December 1984, and we've arrived at the Rover 200. Yes, the car that replaced the Triumph Acclaim. So let's take a look at that one now. So the Rover 200 series, and I've just kind of like put a brochure on there for what came before it, the Triumph Acclaim. Same sort of style of car really, a four-door saloon. Again, it's one of those Honda British Leyland joint projects. Unusual though that they dropped the Triumph name, so this was the last time that the Triumph name was used on the Acclaim, and then they decided, well, let's start using the Rover name for whatever reason, I guess to lift it. It was always seen as a more upmarket car than a Maestro or a Montego, but like I said, I'm not sure why they didn't use the Triumph name for this, the Triumph 200 or even the Triumph Acclaim Mark II or something like that. I'm not sure why, because it was the same idea, wasn't it? That joint project with Honda, and it was actually quite controversial when it came out. So I think we kind of like forget that you know, a lot of people said, why are we doing this with a small car, kind of like devaluing Rover by having this smaller size car as a Rover. And I kind of like still think that sort of way. I think the Triumph name suited that size of car better, because even Triumph was a little bit more upmarket, wasn't it? If you think of the Dolomite, all the wood on there, I don't see why they couldn't have, you know, from the same sort of idea, a bit of wood on there. Triumph seems more sporty though, and Rover seems a little bit more for an older generation, so I think the Triumph name could have appealed to a younger audience, where Rover really never did. I guess similar sort of thing we think like Buick in North America. It always seemed like more of an older person's car. And you could have also had more sporty versions like the Triumph 200 Sprint or something like that, you know. But anyway, old news, I guess. They did decide to go for the Rover name. So the Rover 200 was launched on the 19th of June 1984, and obviously this is quite early on in this brochure. Only 213s at this time. 216s came later. 213 of course with the 1.3, the 216 with the 1.6. So at this time this was the 1.3, the Honda 1.3, where the 1.6 was BL's own S-Series engine. Anyway, let's have a look at the brochure. Rather nice actual cover page really for the Rover. These little various different images of this Rover in various different places in Europe, and then the bottom caption there, born to be driven, bred to be Rover. Anyway, let's turn the page. When we turn the page, we don't get to the trim levels yet. It starts talking about, you know, this new car, various different images of it in the factory being built, a bit of an x-ray image of this particular Vanden Plas. Interesting how it starts it off though. It tells us it's part of the Rover tradition to make bold new departures from tradition. Thus it is that the new Rover 200 series is the first compact Rover for many years, and the first production front-wheel drive Rover ever. In many ways it ushers in an exciting new era for one of the world's proudest marque names, which is certainly an interesting start to this brochure, because I think the failing of the last Rovers, although today looking back at them, yeah, they look great and all that, but they didn't really look forward at all. They just kept looking back, didn't they, at old Rover designs, and it became even more staid, even more appealing to an older audience. They never really pushed forward, and I certainly think that was a failing. Anyway, but that's just my opinion, of course. Anyway, we'll move on to the specs proper and see how the first model is introduced. So like I said, no 216s at launch, so the first model's up is the base model, just simply called the 213, and then one model up, the 213S, and then further up the range we got the 213 SE, 213 Vanden Plas. So 4 different spec levels at this time, and I guess following on from the Triumph Acclaim's 4 spec levels of L, HL, HLS and CD. Really, it's just a newer model Triumph Acclaim, really, isn't it? But yeah, it's another development, I guess the British version of a Honda Blade. Now let's have a look to see how it introduces this base model, and then we get some images of both the base 213 and the 213S. Actually, we might as well start at the top left because it is an image of the very base model, the most basic 200 series, the 213, not even an S. And if we move down, the base model seat. So actually it's quite nice, isn't it? You can certainly see how even this very base model was certainly moving it a little bit more upmarket than a Maestro and a Montego. First in the new line of quality compact cars from Rover are the 213 and 213S saloons, finely proportioned and with the right aura of formal elegance to distinguish them from lesser breeds. They have the confident stance that is so eloquent of sporting driving qualities. I don't know if we ever really thought about the 213 as a sporting model, but we did later on get a Vitesse, didn't we? Anyway, it goes on to tell us, look over the crisp modern detailing of this luxury saloon, the incisive chiselled wedge profile. Well, there we go, referring to it as a wedge profile. We've not heard that since the 70s with things like the Princess, have we? On the TR7, of course, but there we go. We're calling this a wedge, although I've never really heard anyone describe the Rover 200 series as a wedge. This neatly integrated wrap-over doors merging into the roof and the slim style halogen headlamps. In every respect, these cars are as tastefully different as you would expect new generation's Rovers to be. And the seal is set by the proud Viking ship badge on the radiator grille, a long-standing symbol of excellence. Actually, somebody once said to me when these came out that they dropped the Triumph name because the Triumph was known as being quite an unreliable, didn't have a great sort of name or reputation, but the Rover was seen as a more reliable, more upmarket car. Which even then I couldn't understand, because I don't think the Triumph was really, I mean certainly the Triumph Acclaim was an extremely reliable car. I think only suffering really from rust was its only real issue. The Rover, again in 213 form, was a very reliable car as well, but I've never really thought as Rover as being a very sort of good reputation for reliability, really. I think it's purely seen as a more upmarket model. I think that's what they were going for. Goes on to tell us, slip behind the steering wheel and savour the interior comfort. The 213 has marl fabric seats, inviting yet durable. The 213S has new shadow stripe, plain velvet. The feel of luxury. Locking levers allow easy adjustment all the way to fully recline. Cut pile carpet covers the floor. Front seat headrests are upholstered. Seat belt upper mountings have a choice of 2 heights for comfort. Webbing is colour keyed to the interior trim, and matching fabric inserts grace the elegant door casings. In addition, on the 213S, a full-length floor console incorporates gear lever and handbrake gaiters, as well as a rear ashtray, grab handles. Those in the rear with handy coat hooks are provided for passenger convenience. For driver convenience, both boot and fuel filler cap are released remotely. Naturally, both models have an all-embracing heating and ventilation system using air blend for responsive temperature controls of screen and floor output, plus side window demist. Ambient air comes through centre and side face level vents, and there is also a recirculation facility under seat ducting for rear compartment heating and a 3-speed fan. It goes without saying that the heater controls, cigar lighter and front ashtrays are all illuminated at night. The boot and lidded glove box have automatic lamps, and the twin door mirrors can be adjusted internally. Nor is it necessary to add that there is ample storage space, a push button radio on the 213 and a radio stereo cassette player on the 213S, both with twin door speakers and screen pillar housed aerial, plus a comprehensive bank of warning lights including a boot open indicator, a useful adjunct to the remote boot lid release. Such features prove that these cars are bred to be Rovers, and when you venture out on the road you'll expect that Rover quality in practice, the eager engine, the precise balance of the chassis engineering, the smooth running. In fact, you can't fail to be impressed by this superlative 1342cc overhead cam 12 valve unit, which delivers powerful performance and extraordinary economy, 52.3 miles per gallon at 56 miles per hour. The impressive specification of these two cars, their elegant styling and crisp handling mean real motoring pleasure, so much so that once you've tried them you won't settle for anything less apparently. But really overall an awful lot of waffle about absolutely nothing, really trying to portray this as an upmarket car really in the way it's speaking. It tells us there's optional extras though, both offer black or clear coat metallic paint finishes to set off their elegant lines, and both offer rear seat belts. The 213 offers tinted glass and a push button MWLW radio stereo cassette unit as an alternative to the standard fit, while the 213S may be specified with tinted glass and a digital electronic stereo radio cassette and 4 speakers. I always think these optional extras were a little bit pointless really. I don't know why you would get the base model and then start adding things to it. Surely it's better just to move up to the model that's got them features anyway, and therefore you don't lose as much when you sell it really. But that was always my thinking. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the images. A look at the interior, and quite an unusual, almost looks a little bit cluttered type of design. Quite like that sort of like shelf idea on the top though, but overall quite a plasticky look I think. The seats are presumably on the higher spec model yet, the 213S, and then the main picture is a 213S in rather a delightful metallic blue. In fact this actually reminds me of, I don't know if you remember Keeping Up Appearances, that sort of like 1990s sitcom in the UK. Richard drove around in his, I think it was a 216, sorry, it was a 216S that he actually had. The interesting fact about that was there was actually one car but 2 number plates. So in the first series it was D541 EXL, and then in the second series it was the same car but with D541 EFL. Rather weirdly, I don't know if that was a mistake somewhere on the line, but certainly D541 EXL wasn't a real number plate anyway, because XL, them letters weren't actually used pretty much after 1963 or so, so that was purely a made up one. XL was often used in TV programs as a made up number plate. I'm not sure why they moved to EFL. Maybe somebody mistakenly heard F instead of X and made up a different number plate, I don't know. But anyway, that's beside the point, that's just really weird geeky knowledge. Anyway, let's move on to the next model in the range. And of course we can move up the range to the more luxurious models. This is a 213 SE, so let's have a look at this one now. It tells us it's tastefully distinguished by bronze tinted glass and bright highlight inserts in the bumpers and side rubbing strips. The Rover 213 SE offers still higher levels of appointment. The seating is fully trimmed with exquisite new shadow stripe stroke plain velvet seat facings, backs and borders. Matching fabric is used for the door casing inserts, which are further graced by beautiful burr walnut veneered cappings. How lovely. On a practical note, the deep cavernous boot can be augmented by a useful fold down hatch in the rear seat squab. This will accommodate awkwardly long items of luggage from skis to carpet rolls. Incorporated in the attractive instrumentation of the 213 SE is a tachometer for the keen driver to keep an eye of optimal gear change points. Other benefits of the 213 SE specification include central door locking and rear door courtesy lamp switches, wider 165/70 by 13 tyres, add an extra edge to the fine handling and responsiveness of the 213 SE. There is a mechanical dipping mirror in place of the anti-dazzle fixed type used on the 213 and 213S. Combined with the comprehensive equipment already found on the 213S, the additional features of the SE version complete a covetable and satisfying blend of driving enjoyment and remarkable luxury. And then we get such options as a digital electric stereo radio cassette, rear seat belts, black or clear coat metallic paint. Interior of the highest spec model, incorporating that rev counter. A little bit of burr walnut on the doors there, and then seen again on this main front seat image. Rear seats, surprisingly no rear armrest. And then the main image of the 213 SE, and actually what looks like a pretty much identical steel wheel design as a Triumph Acclaim actually. The other thing is the boot size. I know the Triumph Acclaim boot was way too small. I don't think this was that much better. Maybe it was a little bit better than an Acclaim actually, but certainly the Triumph Acclaim had a very small boot if you have ever had to go on holiday or anything. But of course you could go still higher with the top model at this time, the 213 Vanden Plas. It tells us that as a prestige leader of the sparkling range, the 213 Vanden Plas is the ultimate compact luxury four-door saloon. VP insignia are featured at the rear of the fine coach lines and on the stylish moulded wheel covers. Other discreet recognition points include a silver finisher over a silver hued radiator grille, body coloured fairings for the twin door mirrors, and bright tailpipe sleeve. These subtle understated items of decor in the classic Vanden Plas idiom help to give the car a presence that transcends its moderate size. Impeccable good taste is evident in the richly appointed interior of the 213 Vanden Plas. First, quality leather seat facings give that unique sensual appeal of texture and aroma that is so rare today. Alternatively, box velvet fabric may be specified for its own special attraction at no extra cost. The choice is yours. Sumptuous shag pile carpet graces the floor. There are mat pockets behind the front seat, squabs and burr walnut veneer door cappings. Electric windows are fitted all round, and the driver's master control incorporates an isolator switch plus a convenient automatic one-touch open or close facility on the driver's window. Full instrumentation include a tachometer, has rear strat control of nighttime illumination, while headlamp power washers maintain your illumination on the road in bad weather conditions. A bit of a carryover there from the top of the range Triumph Acclaim. The CD also had those headlamp washers. While it comes to in-car entertainment, the 213 Vanden Plas is extremely well provided for. A 3-band digital electronic stereo radio cassette player, delivers superb sound quality through 4 speakers with front rear balance control. As on the 213 SE, a rear seat hatch is provided to cope with lengthy items of luggage. In the beguiling combination of utter luxury with small car driving pleasure and low running costs, the Rover 213 Van der Pla is quite unrivaled. Optional extras shared with the 213 SE is the option of rear seat belts. For that extra distinction of appearance, black or clear coat metallic paint can be specified. So there's the interior there, so we've got a VP badge now on the steering wheel. Interior looks very nice, a little bit of dark burr walnut on the door casings there, and those leather seats, which is unusual, get standard leather seats on a small car at the time as standard. I think this big electric window box is not the most pleasant though. I mean, there's a little bit of another image of it here. Unusual to have such a big box there. Look at that rear seat, how it can fold down, which is quite nice to have on a saloon golf club shown. More upper class, of course. A look at some of the switch gear, and then finally we get a little bit of a look at the boot area. So prices, and this is the Rover 200 prices, starting with that base model of £5,794.36, moving all the way up to the 213 Van der Pla, £6,923.09, which is actually cheaper than the Maestro Van der Pla, but the Maestro Van der Pla did have a 1.6 rather than a 1.3. And finally, just a quick look at the colours. This is the full colour chart. I'm not going to go through it all, but if you want to see the colours themselves, we have looked at it on previous episodes in this brochure. But just to say, the Rover 200 could be had with all these colours apart from Primula Yellow. So there we go, the early Rover 200 range. I wonder which one of these you would have picked. And of course, if you've got any memories of the Rover 200 series, please do jot it in the comments. Always very interesting to read, and I do actually read every single comment on there, good or bad. But thank you so much for watching today. Many episodes to come in the near future. But we'll end, as we always do, by saying please don't forget to like and subscribe. It's all completely free. And next week we are going to be looking at the amazing Rover SD1, possibly my favourite design of all the cars in this particular brochure, but of course very much a troubled car, but certainly better than what it was when it was first introduced. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I've added a couple of boxes there for other episodes you can have a look at, and this series itself. And so if you've got time, do click on those and continue in your viewing pleasure. But thank you so much for watching today. We'll see you very soon. All the best and goodbye.